They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. But what if that picture doesn't load? Or what if it loads too slow, so slow that the user doesn't even get to see it? Does that mean, in that case, that the website's content is short 1,000 words? Let's talk about image optimization. Alright, here's a fun fact. We've been using images on the web since 1993. And if we learned anything in these 30-something years, is that images can make or break your website, so it's really important to know how to load them properly. In this video, we're going to go through 4 image optimization tips that you can apply in your website today. And let's start with tip number 1. Ditch JPEG for WebP and AVIF. JPEG is not the most modern or website-friendly format anymore. It produces larger files, it has visual blocky artifacts, and it also doesn't support transparency. AVIF has a higher color depth, which means that colors look better in AVIF, but it doesn't have full browser support. WebP, on the other hand, has, so we can use WebP as the baseline format for our images and then load AVIFs if the browser supports it. But how do you get to these formats? Well, it depends on a few factors. For example, if you have them up front and you know what your images are going to be, you can just use any third-party solution to convert your JPEGs into WebPs and AVIFs, which is the simplest solution. If you have them, but their number grows quickly, so you don't want to go through converting each and every one of them, you might want to do the conversion at build time. You can use a library like Sharp for Node.js to get all of your JPEGs and PNGs and convert them to WebPs and AVIFs at build time. If you don't have the images, or maybe they're dynamic, maybe they're user submitted, then you should look into generating them at runtime. You can take all that logic from build time and put it into an API endpoint. Or if you don't want to do any of these things, you can always use a third-party service like Cloudinary, IMG-IX, or if you, for example, use Next.js, you can use Vercel's image optimization service. And that's how you can convert your JPEGs into WebPs. Tip number 2 is to properly size your images. You might think that a 10,000 pixels wide image would look better on your website. It's going to be sharper, it's going to be clearer. Well, I hate to say it, but you're wrong. What happens is when the browser tries to download it, it's going to see that it's super wide, it's a lot wider than it needs to be, and it's going to try to scale it down at runtime. The scaling down happens on a separate thread, so it's not hogging the main UI thread, but I've noticed that there's always a commit span that happens on the main UI thread, which actually freezes your UI. So the larger the image is, the more time your website is going to be frozen. That's why you need to scale down your images beforehand. But let's see how you can do that. For example, if you know the dimensions of the image, you can modify your API endpoint to accept a size attribute so you can generate the proper size and return the image. Or if you use the third-party service, usually they support the size attributes as well. But if you don't know the correct dimensions of each of your images, then you can use the layout as a measurement. For example, if your layout is at most 1024 pixels wide, and your images can be full width at most, then the least you can do is size down all of the images to be at most 1024 pixels. You can also take a look at your website analytics. If the majority of your users are coming from mobile devices, you can figure out that mobile device's size or the most common device's size and generate a separate set of images for that size, which you're going to serve later along with the wider images. And let the browser pick the most suitable option. Which brings us to tip number 3. Use the picture element instead of the image tag. Why? Because the picture element allows us to specify image resources. It allows us to define multiple sizes and formats and let the browser pick whichever is the most suitable one. You can achieve that by using the source element and the media attribute. And lastly, tip number 4, choose lazy loading. So when you're loading the image, directly impacts the LCP Core Web Vital. Using the loading attribute, you can specify whether you want the image to load eagerly or lazily. And which one of these is the best option? Well, it depends on a few factors. For example, if you know the LCP element, definitely do loading eager. This is gonna make the browser start loading the image immediately. And the earlier the browser loads the image, the better the LCP score is going to be. But if you don't know the LCP element, it might be better to load the images lazily. This tells the browser to defer loading of the image until the image is in the viewport. So for images below default, it has no effect. As a matter of fact, they won't even start loading, which will contribute to better website performance. But in which case is better to load them lazily instead of eagerly? Well, picture this. Let's imagine that you're working on a gallery type of app. Your above default is a gallery of images, which could be user-generated, and that means that the sizes and aspect ratios will vary. There is no way of knowing which one of those images is going to be the LCP element. If you try to load them eagerly, that'll actually slow the page down. It'll hurt your website's performance even more. So in this case, it's better to load them lazily. And that was our last tip. If you like this video, hit the like button, share it with your friends. And I'll see you in the next one.